So now we get to the main part of our project inside of the models.py. Here we're going to create the classes which are going to create databases afterwards by the means of our classes and a command called make migrations. So first of all, what we want to do is to create a class. So here we write class, and then I can write classmates as the name of the class, and then I can write models. So models.model, and this time model with a capital M. So this is the result of importing models from the Django.db. And so here we get to the next line. So here we created the class and we want to add some variables. By the way, if your program is up and running, you can press Ctrl+C to stop it and continue with your coding. So here inside of our database tables, we want to have the first name and the last name of our classmates. And then we can add other features as well. So here I can write first name and also add last name. So here we can write models.charfield. Some say charfield, but it's related to character. And then we have max length, which we can write 255. Okay, and we can copy and paste the same for the last name. So let me save this one as well. Now, just as simple as that, we've created our model. But notice that if we have other models, we can create a ton of other classes and models. But here, because we are working just with the first name and the last name of our classmates, so we don't need any other kind of database or table. Or if later we want to add other features about our classmates, then we can add them inside of this class. So anyway, this is a very simple kind of creating a class. So now I can make migrations folder. So in order to do that, I can write in here I can write python3 manage.py make migrations, and then I can write the name of my app, which is classmates, and let's see what happens. So as you can see, it says that create model classmates, so we should be able to see this migrations folder. And as you can see, this 0001 initial.py has been created as a result of our database creation. So okay, it's all about creating the database related to our data. We have ID, first name, last name, and so on. And so here, if I write migrate again, so python3 manage.py migrate, using this file over here instead of the migrations folder, it will create the SQL database for me. So first of all, in order to run your database, create your database, you need to first run the command manage.py make migrations, and then you can run python3 manage.py migrate. So let's press enter, and so as you can see, everything has worked, and we have operations to perform, apply migrations, and okay, everything worked. So let's check over here. So everything should be written instead of db.sqlite, I think, or any other places inside of our migrations. But okay, it doesn't matter because we're not going to work with our database. It is already created by Django, and we will be able to query from the database inside of our views.py. So we don't have any problems about this. So now it's time to create our template for showing the database that we've just created. So first of all, we want to have a web page for showing the names of the classmates, and then we want to be able to add members to that page, and also be able to delete or update everything from that page or from that page. So here inside of our templates, we want to create something else, .html. So it's better to name it index.html because the name of our function was also index. So here I can write index.html. And so let me copy some of the codes from here and paste them right over here. And by the way, we don't want to have the test.html anymore inside of our views.py. So I'm going to talk about that part, but for now, let's develop our code inside of this page. So right now, I've just stopped this project. And as you can remember, we had this hello world inside of our page in classmates. So we want to change that. And here we probably do not need to write HTML over here. So let's go to the next line and create our tags. H1, and then we can write classmates. So it's better to write it with the capital letters, classmates. And then we're going to create a table for listing the names. So here I can use the table tag, table right over here. Okay, I think, okay, it's fine. So then I'm gonna close this tag. And in between, I'm going to add the elements. So now we want to enter some of our codes related to DTL, which is Django template language. And here we want to mix it with our HTML. The reason we want to do this is that we have a certain number of classmates inside of our class, but we don't know how many they are. So we don't know the number of elements or tags we want to add inside of our table. So we have to use a for loop inside of our code in HTML. And because in HTML we don't have a for loop, so here we want to use the Django template language or DTL. So this is a bit different from HTML. If you don't understand it, don't worry. I'm going to have a separate tutorials on that. But for now, let's write a bit of DTL code. So inside of it, we want to create a new bracket and then write % inside of it. And then I'm going to write for X in my members, I can say classmates because we're writing classmates, and I'm gonna just define this variable inside of my project. So classmates over here. Now in order to close this part, I should also write end if. So another bracket and with % inside of it. I can write end for, and they should be connected to each other. Okay, there we go. So inside of here, we can write the tags related to our table. So we have tr. So I'm going to close this, and we also have td for the elements of our table. So we have td for the elements, and here I can write, so we have x, which is related to each of my classmates, so it's going to loop through the classmates array. So if you're familiar with the arrays in Python, when we want to loop through an array, we can just write x, and then here inside of the loop we can use x as the classmate element. So here I can write x dot, the first one of them I want to add the ID. So if I get into migrations, and in this folder you'll see that here we have ID, first name and last name. So we're gonna use each one of these from our database, and we're gonna add these to our template right over here. So we had the index.html. So we have x.id for here. Oh, not this one. Okay, that's enough. So then another tag here, td, and so I want to write x.firstname for another cell of my table, and then another td tag for the last name, x.lastname. Okay, so let's save this. And okay, this is my template for index.html. So let's go to the views.py. And in here, we want to remove all of the parts related to test.html because we're not going to use this anymore. So actually, let's get this back over here. So I need this part. Test.html should be changed to index.html. And also I need to get the data from my database. So here I can write my classmates. So here we had a variable inside of the, okay, this is my classmates over here instead of the HTML file. So inside of the views.py we need to have my classmates as well here. And then let's get back to our classes inside of the models.py. So here, as you can see, we have the name of the class, which was classmates. So let's get back to our views. So classmates dot objects. We also need to import the classmates from our models. So here I can write from dot models import classmates. So classmates dot objects dot all dot values So here I think I need parentheses and also dot. Now here we have my classmates, right? So we should create a context. Context equals to, and then we have brackets. And in here I can write my classmates. And I should place it inside of the apostrophes. Equals to classmates. Actually, my classmates. So now here, instead of equal, we should write colon. Okay, there we go. So here we should write render, and here inside of so we need to press Ctrl Z, template.render, and inside of this I can write context and request. Context and the request. So it's over here. Okay, there we go. So here I will explain what happens here. So first of all, we've imported our HTML file, and so we've got the template. We've also got the models, our database values. So imagine that we have added some data to our database. We've got our classmates. So we want to query all of the data from the database and put all of the values inside of the my class. And then we want to create a context so that we can render our data, which is our classmates, inside of the context, and then we want to render it with the request that comes from the calling the classmates URL, which is right over here, and we've defined it in this URL. So once classmates is called, then we will get to over here, and then we will activate index views, and then we will load the page related to the template, which is index.html, in which we have our tables. So remember, we've written our index.html containing our tables, first name, last name, and ID, which we query from our database. And here, as you can see, I have my classmates, which we had inside of our views.py, right? So here we have our context, which contains my classmates, which we have got from the values of our database, and then we want to render it inside of our index.html. So we get it right here, and so we loop through the array related to different classmates, their ID, their first name, and their last name, and then we want to put them inside of the tables cells. So the ID of that student, the first name, and the last name. So that's it for the part related to showing the data of the students. And in the next part, we're going to see how we can add, create a link for adding the names of the students. So we're going to create the forms so that we can add the names of the different students related to our class, and then we will see how we can add them to our database so that later we can see them inside of our tables, inside of the URL related to classmates.